Hello everyone, my name is Tony, your host today from On Point. Welcome back to the next episode of our series, Connect to Unleash Infinite Opportunities. For those of you who are just joining us, On Point has been a pioneering force in the UAE's part-time job market. We've connected over 6,000 individuals with flexible opportunities, and now we're taking things a step further. Through our innovative new app, OnPoint is making part-time jobs even more accessible than ever before. We're not just connecting people with work, we're introducing the entire concept of part-time employment to a wider audience in the UAE. For our series of interviews, we are excited to have handpicked a group of experts from various fields. These successful individuals based in Dubai will share their inspiring stories and provide valuable and informative content. Today, I'd like you to meet our next expert of the series, Mr. Amin Rad. Hello, Amin. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hello, hi. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much. How about yourself?
I'm good too. Thank you for asking. All right, Amin. So would you like to tell our audience a bit about yourself, what you do, a bit about your story, so we can get to know you a bit better?
Yes, of course. So basically, I've been born and raised here. I started my work career, just work, not anything legal. And then I also started my studies here, also did law school in France.
All right.
I lived there for 6 years, lived and worked there, studied there as well.
Amazing.
So I did some legal work over there. Then I worked in the Netherlands as well with a Dutch company, doing legal work for them as well. I was a CLO for that company. It's a tech company. Then after that, I decided to move back home in the UAE, and I started working in legal here again. Currently, I work with Badr Al Zabi. It's an Emirati law firm, so we do litigation as well.
Okay.
And apart from that, now I have my legal page as well, where I upload videos to educate people and give them more legal information as well.
That's amazing. Yeah. So how has your experience been working in these different countries?
To be honest, every experience is different. I can tell you more about like what the countries are like and the work culture over there. In Europe, you kind of have more of a equality system where everybody kind of has to go through the structure of passing on to the next stage. There's no jump or many opportunities where you can just directly expand or explode in your
structured ladder.
Very, very structured. Same thing with studies. You can't access certain jobs unless you have that degree. It's the same. But over here, you kind of have that flexibility, and you have the country and the government itself pushing you to becoming a freelancer, part-time worker, or an entrepreneur, depending on the scale that you want to grow in. So I really like that about Dubai and the UAE in general.
Amazing. So also to dive a bit into your background, like I've gone through your Instagram page as well. So do you specialize in corporate law specifically?
Exactly, yeah. So my specialty, I mean, in the UAE as a lawyer, you can't say I only specialize in one thing because you get all kinds of clients all the time. So you automatically pick it up. So my specialization is corporate law, but ever since I started working here, you can say I have my fair share of every kind of category, a bit of everything. Yeah, I have to. I don't have a choice.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. So I'd like to check in with you. Given your tenure as a lawyer in the UAE, what significant changes or like evolution you've seen with the law concerning employment in the UAE?
Oh, that's a good one. See, I grew up working here. My first job, I remember, I worked as a phone salesman for 3 months, part-time as well, to sell, not even flagship phones, just in Satwa. In like a phone shop. So that's where I did those kind of jobs as well. And at that time, you didn't have a lot of regulations or what was actually, you kind of did it on a contractual basis. You had very few rights. If you didn't get paid, you would have to chase the company with emails. Mohere was very difficult to get through to have these concerns fixed. But right now, it's becoming more like Europe, not in the sense of the structure, but more in sense of the regulation, the laws. It's becoming more like Europe. Everybody has rights. The part-time workers, the rights are respected just the same, almost the same as well as the full-time workers. It's
Yeah.
becoming much more structured. I really like that about the evolution of the law here
All
for
right.
part-time.
That's very true. Especially one of the most important points that we'd like to educate or bring awareness about is how prevalent the support for part-time work is becoming.
Yeah.
Right? Like how we were discussing before about the work permits. You have your part-time work permit, temporary work permit, etc. So, would you mind elaborating a bit from your perspective about the law protecting part-time workers
Okay, sure.
in terms of regulations,
Of
etc.?
course. So we could also put together with freelance as well,
Exactly.
because I think people that are looking at part-time work, they're also looking at freelance at
True.
the same time. When it comes to freelance and part-time work, in terms of the regulation and laws and the rights that they have, I would say that the part-time workers, they are looking for an opportunity to gain more income. That's the main goal of part-time work, because nobody after their main job wants to go work another job.
True.
Unless they're looking to make more income, whatever their goals may be, either to make ends meet, or if it is to just make more money, no one is going to be against that. When it comes to freelance, however, you are kind of separating these two categories between freelance visa and also getting your own investor visa, meaning starting your own company. Now, in terms of cost, because that's the first thing you should be thinking about, is how much is this going to cost me before I can start making any income? Part-time and freelance start from two separate places. Part-time, you already get the offer, you accept it, and you don't have to tell your employer about wanting to accept this job. Whereas freelance visa, you first have to get the freelance visa and then start looking for clients.
True.
You start from two very different points. Freelance visa and company visa almost have the same cost, whereas freelance, you are limited to how much you can work yourself, whereas company, you have the ability to hire other people.
All right.
Part-time work, you're limited on an hourly basis on how much you can work per week, per day, per month. So you kind of have to evaluate what your own goals are. I cannot answer that for you. You would have to see yourself what your own goals are, so that you can then decide whether part-time work is correct for you, or freelance, or starting your own company, whichever one it may be.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I would like to check in with you. Have you encountered any legal issues in your practice concerning part-time work?
Funnily enough, I actually had my friend yesterday contact me, because she does modeling. She contacted me and she told me that I actually did a shoot 2 years ago, and the production company and the agency company that booked me, they came to an agreement 2 years ago to use the photos, blah, blah, blah. That was done. Recently, for Eid, that just passed like a month ago, less than a month ago, like last week.
Last week.
You see how busy? Last week. So she saw the same photos being used, whereas the production company asked the agency whether they can use this photo, and the agency gave their approval without her consent. So she asked me about her rights and what she could do. We're not going to get into that, but these kind of issues are more prevalent because you run into these problems when you are a part-time worker. You kind of have to fight with this company that's not really your employer for your own rights, because you're considered as a separate entity, no matter how regularly you go to that workplace. Freelance, you could say you kind of do have that separation even more. So it really depends on your personality, because at the end of the day, you're not working as a company. You're working as a separate, your own person is working with this company. So your personality really shows how you're dealt with, how you defend your own rights, who you run to, or like a lawyer if you want your rights defended and things like that. So it really depends on also the agencies that you work with. So if you're working with the right agency, such as the On Portal, then in that sense you would have your rights protected.
True. Thank you again for that. So I'd like if you could maybe highlight the key differences between a full-time and part-time employee or employment.
Okay. So again, depends on your role, what you do for the company, what your part-time job is. It depends on the company that you're working with. Sometimes companies, this is the reality of things in any place, in any country, in any industry. They don't necessarily, strictly abide by the laws that they're supposed to. So this is your homework and your responsibility to find out what are your rights.
Mm.
But for me to tell you some general information, because again, it depends on the role, it depends on what you're doing, it depends on a lot of factors. You're supposed to technically more or less be treated like the regular employees, the full-time employees, meaning the rights that you have. Now, the hours of work, of course, differ because as a general law, you're supposed to work less than 8 hours per day in the part-time industry. So the general laws that are supposed to be respected, or the rights that you have, are such as the rights to your privacy, rights to not being bullied in the workplace, nor rights against any discrimination, things like that, of that nature. This is absolutely your rights. This is the general laws that apply to anybody in the UAE, whether you're working or you're a tourist, so it doesn't matter. These are the things that you shouldn't move on from.
All right. What about when it comes to employment contracts with Mori? Like, are there any key differences between the contracts themselves?
Of course, there's a difference between the main categories, which is full-time employment and part-time employment. And of course, there's no visas included on part-time work. Freelance, you would have to get your own visa. Those are completely different. When it comes to part-time work, there is now a system that Mohre has introduced for part-time workers and their contracts. So the companies that you're going to be working for, first of all, you would have to get a permit as well when you're going to be working part-time. But the company that's hiring you would be hiring you through that contract system. Yeah. And also your previous employer will be notified. And the current employer will also be notified of the main employer that you have. This is something that is possible. But neither one of them have the right to refuse you when picking your employment as a part-time worker. So meaning, what I mean by that is your current employer, your main employer, cannot reject you from working as a part-time employer as well.
So are there any specific industries or sectors in the UAE where part-time work is more prevalent or more complex legally?
Complex legally, again, it depends on every single little details make a difference. Like in that conversation that I explained about my model friend, that she had a problem with another agency, there is, let's say, a detail where they went back and forth a little bit, and that adds another tie of complexity.
Right.
She said something, he said something, they said something. This
It
adds
builds
more
up.
complexity,
Yeah.
whether you're working in the hosting industry or you're working as a part-time engineer. It doesn't matter. I can tell you from my experience over the past years in the UAE, the modeling and the hosting industry is, in my opinion, the biggest ones over here. But maybe you guys have more experience in knowing what the actual key statistics are in the industry. Could you tell me a little bit about what the main
I would say you might be right, because at the end of the day, in Dubai, there are events all through the year.
Exactly,
You know, whether it's corporate, government events, private events, there's always something happening in Dubai. We have so many expos and exhibitions throughout the year as well. So it's mostly the hosting, the promotions as well. So we have promoters with us.
Waiters and waitresses as well, I believe.
Exactly. With a lot of new restaurants opening here, you have seasonal demands. So this helps them address that as well.
There we go. Professional opinion.
We're turning the tables now. All right. So I'd like to move on to workers' rights. What is the difference between the rights of a part-time worker compared to a full-time worker?
Okay, so the rights of a part-time worker more or less are the same as a full-time worker. Okay. The other rights I would say that you have, unless you want to clock in more hours, is that you need to put a limit. I mean, the company needs to put a limit on the hours that you can work. There's a limit on how much you can work per day, per week, per month. Yeah. Moreover, you do not have a right to a visa on that new company. So your visa stays with the current company that you're hired under, which is good. Now, again, this is something that is occurring more and more. I see a lot of people joining companies, but they don't necessarily have that much need for them in that specific company, which is why people turn to part-time work, where their visa stays on that company. They do some work for those companies as well, but they're not clocking in as many hours as they would like to. Their salaries are also matching those few hours that they're putting in where they're needed in those companies. So that's when they would come and do the part-time work, which is why I see those rights being respected. I think what I could project potentially is, with the way I've seen the part-time regulation space growing, it's going to become almost identical to full-time work for sure. Because as we know it, again, as I explained, people work here on full-time basis, but it's not as many hours as they would like to clock in, and then they go for the full-time work, for the part-time work, which is where these regulations are needed. Because if a lot of people are working in part-time, that means you're going to have a lot of problems in part-time, which means you're going to have a lot of cases raised with Mohre in part-time. And if they can't answer those cases, and they're going to have more and more people coming in, Dubai is looking to automate many things. So again, a lot of my job also is going to be automated. Whether you come to me and you have to check, it's like an algorithm. You tell me, I work for this part-time company, or I work as a full-time employee. So you're automatically put into one category or the other. The next, did you clock in X hours? Yes. So now you're put into another. You come to that final conclusion on whether that right was violated or not. And those are how automatically Mohre is going to be answering those cases.
Just a system in place.
Systematic.
It makes everything much more easier. But hopefully it does not affect your job too much.
No, I think my job is much more complex than a couple of algorithms. So
that's true.
I think for now we're safe. At least in my lifetime, I'm going to be safe.
Amazing. So I'd like to check in, because especially when it comes to issues that employees might face, just to give them an understanding, what are the legal obligations that they can expect from the employer when it comes to part-time employees? Like, you've covered the working hours and benefits. What about things like job security?
Job security, I don't think job security exists even with full-time employment. If the industry is going down, you're going to lose your job. I'm going to lose my job. Everybody's going to lose their job. The industry, the whole mechanism of the economy changes if the industry is going down, like if the entire economy is going down. That's something that's out of anybody's control. I'm a lawyer. I start with the negative, then I tell you the positive things. Right? So I find the flaws first, then I tell you about the positive stuff.
Sounds good.
See, in terms of job security, you can't give job security to anybody's job or anybody's work, even full-time employees. The president can literally be overthrown or can lose their job. So if the president can be voted out of office, right, then that means nobody's job is really safe. How safe is it? It's less safe than full-time employment, that's for sure. Because full-time employment, you still have your visa. If you've worked there for a long time, you do have end-of-service benefits. Part-time, obviously, from the name itself, you don't have end-of-service benefits because you're working for a short period of time. But the rights that you do have is rights to your full promised earnings. Unless, of course, if you have completed the hours and the tasks that they have given you, that you have only agreed on the contract that they've given you. Anything outside of that, any extra work, let's say you sign up for being a waiter or a waitress or host or hostess, and they tell you to carry heavy boxes or do any heavy lifting that a normal waiter or waitress outside of the job scope, exactly, is not there, then obviously you're not obligated or you're not forced to do that. Then if they argue that, you can always go to Mohre or go to the agency that booked you. They will try to resolve that. The best advice I can give you as a lawyer is to try to settle it in a friendly way. It's much less time consuming. It's more cost effective. You don't have to hire a lawyer. We're not cheap. So it's best to, I'm serious, it's best to settle it in a friendly way. Any kind of case, whether you have a dispute with a friend or you have a dispute with the company you worked with as a part-time employer, settle it in a friendly way. If that doesn't work, then of course you have the law protecting you, blah, blah, blah. But that's the
So ultimately everything goes back to the contract.
Ultimately everything goes back to being friends and solving it as a friend.
All right. Well, I'll keep that in mind should I ever need it as well. So I'd like to dive into the freelance gigs a bit. Are there any specific laws or regulations that you think freelancers have to be aware of?
Of course, I see many people working part time and freelancing without a permit. Please
Mhm.
get a permit. Because if you run into any problems, I can protect you. No
Yeah.
one can protect you because you're out of the scope of the law. So you're technically in a gray area of the law that even the law, even if it has protection for you, cannot be applied to you because you don't fall under that legal entity or legal category. So please get a permit. Other than that, obviously get your own visas. When you're working as a freelancer or starting your own company, again, really put this in your mind. If you want to grow, being a freelancer has a very, very short ceiling
Okay.
on how far you can grow. Starting your own company obviously gives you unlimited options because every job opportunity is a contract away. You
Yeah.
can sign a contract with this company, with that company, with 10 companies on the same day, even. But as a freelancer, you're supposed to show up as one person as a freelancer and finish that job yourself. Or if it is like, let's say, a video editing job, obviously you can get yourself as a freelancer and behind the scenes sign a contract or get a gig signed
Yeah.
on and then have somebody else do that. It's kind of like service drop shipping.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you're supposed to hand in that job with your own face on it, not the company's name on it.
That's true.
So, depending on what your goals are and how big your dreams are, obviously, I'm not saying if you work as a freelancer, you don't have big dreams. I'm saying that whatever you're comfortable with is something that whatever you envision yourself, you should put yourself on that route because you'll eventually run into dead ends. If you're planning to grow as a company, but you're in a
Mhm.
freelance as a freelancer, you're going to hit that ceiling.
That's true. Could you tell us a bit about the any eligibility criteria for maybe a part-time work permit or the freelance visa in particular?
Yeah, sure. So obviously there's some age limits that are there. You need to be over 18. However, there are certain exceptions for people that are under 18 that want to work. But then again, the laws that apply to that are strict for the companies hiring and for the people that want to be hired, the young audience that wants to be hired. Other than that, the general criterias apply. Obviously, you have to be legally here as whether you're sponsored, you have your own visa, you're hired under another company, you have your own company, things of that nature. These are the general criterias. To be honest with you, every single person, like my criterias from your criterias and everybody else's criterias differ.
Yeah.
So it is always best to go to Mohre and ask them directly with your own specific conditions, can I work for this specific company? Because even the company that you're applying for is a different industry every single time, and they're looking for a different role every single time. So if we're going to go through every criteria one by one, I think we're gonna run
Be
out of
here
storage
forever.
on the cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. And I'm sure like all the information is available online
everything
too.
is available. Yeah,
So,
yeah, everything
and
is
they're
available.
always one call away as
One
well.
phone call away. Call the hotline. You're gonna get all your answers.
Yeah. So for our viewers who are maybe university students, could you maybe brief them about what they can do to get into part-time work or any advice from your side?
Of course, I was a university student. I was looking for jobs. Now I understand with the current industry and economy we're in, more and more people are looking to, do that side hustle, make their own money. I understand. I completely applaud it. I am completely for it. It's amazing. To work to find more part-time jobs. To be honest with you, I would say first of all you have to create some sort of brand for yourself. That's the fastest way to make people trust you, because if you're not a brand or your face is not a brand, then it's going to be very hard to showcase the work that you've done. Again, this depends on the kind of work that you're doing, but I think any kind of industry or any kind of work, you can create that brand awareness for yourself and become a brand yourself. In that case, you'll have job offers coming to you rather than you
Yeah.
chasing after job offers as well. I know people that are working for that are working as part-time hostesses or models, and they just keep getting
Yeah.
recommended and booked, and they don't have any brand or any kind of social media page or anything like that, but
The
they
word
keep
of
getting
mouth.
word of mouth. They keep getting booked again. I myself keep getting clients just because of work I've done for other clients, and they keep referring their people to me.
It's all about marketing yourself and how you do it as
Exactly.
well. What advice or words of wisdom that you would have for people on full-time employment visas and family-sponsored visas looking for part-time opportunities?
First of all, you would have to get an NOC from your sponsor. If you're under sponsorship from a company, you would not need to get an NOC. It is not their rights to tell you whether you can earn more money or not. So that's your right. But other than that, if you have free time after your main job, if you're not sponsored and if you're working for a company, if you have free time to work after that, find something that suits your hours the most. Because at the end of the day, if you're slacking off on that second job or third job, I don't know how many part-time jobs you're going to be doing, but if you're slacking off and you're not doing the job, it's going to be very hard to defend your rights when the employer can prove that you're not completing those objectives that they've given you. So if you're completing those hours and doing the work that they're asking you, then you have full entitlement to the income that you're promised. And if you're sponsored, of course, you would have to get an NOC from your sponsor. But other than that, if you're sponsored and you're not working, all power to you. You can work it as you would with the efforts of a full-time job. Of course, not the same hours. There's a limit on that. But other than that, go ahead. Why not?
All right. So getting to the most important question, what are the consequences of working part-time without proper permits or visas for the employer and the employee?
Right. So both the employer and employee are exposed to penalties if they are not respecting the regulations that are set out for them, which, by the way, is not very difficult to get. It's not expensive and it's not difficult to get. So definitely have that. They're valid for a year. Sometimes there's exceptions. They can be validated for specific groups of people. But other than that, honestly, just get the permit and do it through the contract system that the government has set out, because that way you are protected and the employee is protected. You both will be protected in this scenario. The penalties obviously include financial penalties. So if they're not respected, and this again comes down to Mohre and their judgment, how much they want to fine you. The employer can also get a ban from hiring any part-time workers or maybe even full-time workers. It depends on case-by-case basis, how many people they've hired without a permit, how many people that the employee has worked for without a permit. It all comes down to a case-by-case scenario. How long they've worked, what is the income that they've earned from these part-time jobs. It all depends on a case-by-case basis where it's ruled out on a specific basis. But you're mostly looking at financial penalties and a ban from being able to hire or be hired.
Pretty heavy consequences.
Yeah, I mean, it's not worth it.
Yeah. So what steps can employers take to ensure that they are compliant with the labor law?
Get the permits. That's it. It's that simple. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. It's not that complicated because it's just like the part-time job. It's not supposed to be complicated. It's supposed to be more like a matchmaking kind of scenario where someone's looking for a job to be done, but they obviously don't need them for the whole full-time employment. So they're looking for someone that can do that job, has proven that they can do that job, or whether the employer is looking to hire somebody that doesn't need to prove they've done that job. They find them, they tell the government, hey, we're looking to hire this person. The employer tells the government, hey, I'm looking to get hired by this person.
Yeah.
The government says, here you go. This is your contract. Farewell.
All friends.
All friends. Everybody's friendly. So it's not that hard.
So given the rich experience that you've had all these years, how do you see part-time work evolving in the UAE over the next few years?
It's only going to get more and more evolved and grown and structured. I remember when I was doing part-time work myself, it wasn't as structured. You kind of relied on the employer paying you.
Yeah.
Hopefully, right?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed they pay you. Do a couple of du'as here and there, they'll pay you at the end of it, hopefully. But other than that, now it's much more structured. If you've proven that you've done it, if you've done the work, because I know even full-time employees do the job and then the employer doesn't pay them, they obviously have rights to those payments. end of service benefits, everything. For part-time, there's no end of service benefits, but if you've done the job, you can prove it. You're there in the photos that at the event, or you're supposed to send emails and there's proof that you've logged on and sent the emails. Whatever the job is, you've handed over the work to your boss by PDF on WhatsApp. That's proof. That's it. It's over. They have to pay you. So those are the rights that you have. And in any scenario that they are not paying you, then of course you have recourse to Moher. I see this industry growing more and more. Dubai is planning on doubling their population. So a lot of whatever you're seeing now, it's just going to double.
Yeah.
If there's part-time workers now, it's just going to double. There's people looking for jobs, it's going to double. Companies looking to hire, it's going to double. Everything is going to double.
True.
More or less, obviously.
A lot more opportunities
for
to
sure,
look forward
for sure.
to. So moving from the future to back to the past, right? So during your experience, how has COVID-19, the pandemic, affected part-time work and any related legal issues that
It's a good question. Maybe I'm not the right person to answer it because during COVID, I was in France.
Oh, right.
So I wasn't here. But from what I know, from what, of course, I have strong, still ties to the country, even though I was away. Part-time was more or less remote.
Mhm.
Once the event started picking back up, the first labor force had to pick up
Yeah.
first before the part-time
True.
picked up. So part-time is always one step behind full-time in terms of how the industry moves. A lot of people actually look to hire part-time more and more when the industry is going down.
Yeah.
That's also what's interesting, is when the industry is going down and they can't commit to full-time employees, they look to hire part-time, which is where the part-time can sometimes outshine the full-time
True.
employment as well.
Helps the business to saving costs, etc.
Save costs, stay afloat. Yeah, for sure.
So, as a general question, what advice would you give anybody looking to work part-time, given that you yourself did hold a few part-time jobs in the past?
I would say currently, when I was doing part-time jobs, online work was a myth. It existed, people were doing it, but doesn't mean that it was everywhere. And it was very hard to get into. Now, I feel like online jobs are easier to get into than part-time jobs physically, because you're also not limiting yourself to any space. I hire people from all around the world myself to edit videos, to do XYZ for me. So for me, it's very natural, it's very normal. And I've also gotten hired for legal work internationally through messages, WhatsApp, online gig economy, whatever it is. So it's very normal. I think you should get yourself out there. The more noise you can make, and by noise I mean putting yourself out there, the more people are going to want to listen to you and hear what you're going to have to say.
It's a great, networking can be one of the greatest
Networking,
things
or
ever.
just getting it automated. Have people sending messages for you, or AI or systematic procedures sending out messages for you. There's literally right now technology that can duplicate your face and can create greeting videos for you that you can send to clients automatically, that match your criteria that you're searching for on LinkedIn or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, hi XYZ person, without you having to say their name, and the rest of the message is what you've recorded. It's just the first part that says their name. Other than that, everything else is the same. I think that's not a bad way to start. It's not personalized. It's not the most impressive thing, because anybody that's been in this business for long enough, they know that it's AI, and maybe that will even come off the wrong way.
Yeah.
But it at least puts your face out there, and you can get connect more
Numerous opportunities, things available at our fingertips. It's just about taking advantage.
Exactly. It's just going to grow. It's only going to get bigger.
Yeah. So I know the answer to the next question, but I'd just like a clarification from you for our viewers, right? What are the tax implications for part-time workers in the UAE?
Employee and tax don't go together. It's that simple. Earned income is income that you keep, 100% of it. Tax only applies to companies. That's it. You don't have to worry about taxes. Your employer has to worry about the taxes, not you.
Perfect. All right. So we have a few questions from our listeners, right? So one of them asks, can part-time employees work for multiple employers simultaneously, and what are the legal implications? I know we've covered it a bit, but just to specifically address.
First, send me the coffee brand that you're drinking because I need to know. Because after a full-time job, working multiple part-time
Yeah.
jobs is amazing. Like, congrats. But if you can do that, the answer to your question is there's no limit to other than your sleep. There's no limit to how many jobs you can work. Uh, Unless you're doing that job well as well, because then if you're not doing the job and you're not showing up, you're tired, then obviously that will affect your income, and the employer also has the rights to refuse paying you the full amount if you don't show up certain days where you're supposed to show up, unless they agree on text that it's okay, you can come and you will still be paid in full. Then it's a different thing. But other than that, there's no real limit on how many part-time jobs you can take, unless, of course, you have the permit and Mohre approves of the contract.
All right.
Then there's no limit.
Perfect. So another listener asks, what should an employee do if their part-time employer does not honor the terms of the contract, the employment contract?
Then you can go to Mohre. Mohre is the best place to go if you have any kind of employment issues. Contact your agency that you're booking through if possible, but more likely than not, it is likely that they will also refer you to Mohre, because they don't have they're not granted the power to decide or make any judgment on the relationship between employers and employees. So it is always best for Mohre to be the final say, because that is that forced and enforced by the law to be executed, whatever judgment that the Mohre gives.
True. So are there any specific protections in place for part-time workers against unfair dismissals or discrimination?
If you can prove that you're doing the work up until where you've done that job, you're supposed to be paid. But to be honest with you, probation period with full-time employment and part-time employment is kind of the same. We're living in 2024. No one can force you to work. No one can force you to employ.
True.
If I, as a company owner, want to employ a part-time worker and I promise them an X amount of work, but in the middle I see that they're lacking in their responsibilities, I'm not enforced to hire them for the full time. Vice versa, if you're working part-time and in the middle of it you see that the job is not really fitting what you're planning on doing, you kind of miss out on the income, but you're not forced to be working there either. Again, every industry, every contract, every relationship between employer and part-time worker is different. So it is best to specifically ask your specific question with your specific industry to Mohar, that they can answer this very clearly.
Perfect. So we'll be moving on to another topic now. From your perspective again, how can part-time work contribute to better work-life balance? Like, for example, we're heading into a new age now. People don't want to work 9 to 6. They don't want to be committed to just one employer. So what advice would you have for people who would like to just focus on part-time work to maintain a better work-life balance?
If your income is matching your outcome, meaning your costs of living, and you're happy with the balance that you have, with the amount of work that you put in, how much you're getting paid and how much you're spending, and you can maintain that over the long term while having reserves to, potentially look out for any kind of emergencies, all power to you. Continue doing what you're doing. I don't need to tell you anything extra that you haven't already figured out yourself. But if you're looking to make an extra income, I think part-time work is a great opportunity to make that extra income.
Yeah. So, what are some success stories of part-time workers who have navigated the legal landscape successfully in Dubai?
Mohre fixes all of that. To be honest with you, I think that anytime an employee has a problem with their employer, they more likely than not have the rights. It's become very rare for me to see. Of course, I still do see it because we cover all aspects of the law, but I still do see employees messing about and then they're at fault. I'm the type that will tell you directly whether you're going to lose or win the case. I tell you, don't waste your time. Go and settle it in a friendly way with the employer, because making a case is just going to make you lose time and money. Don't do that. So I know times where the employees have leaked not leaked, but it's not even intentional. But even without their intention of doing it, I tell them that if they go to court with this, they're going to lose the case, because if I was the employer's lawyer, I would destroy you. Like, I would kill you in court. Literally, like, there's no way you would survive, because it's like clear leak of information, or it's clear violation of the employer's right. The employers have rights too. So as long as you're respecting both sides, and both sides are working together in a friendly way, then you're going to be fine. In any other case, success stories, more likely than not, if you have worked the hours and you have, submitted the work, done those hours, done those days, you have full rights to the income that you're promised. It's that simple.
Perfect. So the next question is a bit personal, right? What do you think would be the skills that you've learned from all the part-time work that you've done?
It's not easy. It's really not as easy as any other job. Like, every job is difficult, because if you're committed to doing that job and you want the income, then at the end of the day, it's not easy working a full-time job. It's not easy working a part-time. It's not easy running a company. It's not easy doing any kind of work that has responsibility. The thing that I've learned the most is to always appreciate the situation that you're in as well. Part-time work is not it's not easy to find. So when you're entrusted with that kind of opportunity, it's always best to take it. And you always learn. Like, I worked as a phone salesman, selling, like 200, 300 dirham phones in Satwa, which like is the old town in Dubai, right near Deira, and not near Deira, but it's near that, but near Bar Dubai. So I've worked there in Riqa. I used to sell phones and SIM cards, things like that nature. Like, as a lawyer, looking back, I learned so much in that. Is like learning how to communicate, learning how to speak like communicate with people that don't necessarily speak the language. It's a really good experience, and you always appreciate, like, obviously your goal is to always evolve as a human being. So you do that work, but you're not planning to do that work forever. Then you always learn to appreciate the work that you've done previously, and learn where you are, learn to appreciate where you are, and you always look to evolve. Like, I could not, like, if I'm not here tomorrow and I'm somewhere else, I'll appreciate where I was today. So that's always good.
It's a good chance to learn a lot about yourself too,
Yeah,
because you're
of
put
course.
into new
Of course,
experiences and situations.
Of course.
All right. So my final question, second last question would be, how can our listeners reach out to you if they have further questions, or if they need any legal assistance regarding their part-time work, maybe?
The best way to reach out to me is on social media. My DMs are open for everything. My email is also open. I always respond to all of my messages. My page is legal.rad, @legal.rad. I'm tagged in the videos. I'm sure you can just find me easily. It's not difficult. You can just reach out to me in the DMs. I always answer.
Perfect. And coming to the final question, as you know, we are excited to launch our app shortly for part-time staffing. So from a legal perspective, what are the key advantages of using such a platform for both employers and employees?
It's perfect. I think it's matchmaking. It's great. I'm looking to do X, they're looking to do Y, X and Y on the same app. Why not? Yeah, it's amazing.
That's true.
It's perfect. It's a perfect place. If you're looking for a part-time job, it's the perfect place to be. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Amin.
Thank you so much for having me.
And for covering all the questions. I'm sure it was very, very insightful to our viewers as well. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.